Okay, I wanted to kind of add part two for this graph editor because looking at the graph editor can be a little bit, I don't want to say troublesome or confusing, hopefully not stressful, but you've got a lot of buttons and making sure you understand the speed. And I kind of wanted to show, you know, understanding speed because you're going to look at two different things. You're going to look at your speed and you're going to look at value. So we're going to look at rotation in a second. But one thing of knowing this is, maybe if I'm working on here, that was when I was jumping in to maybe say fit. I wanted to fit selection to view, or if I wanted to fit all of the graphs to the view, I could do so. And there's some other things that we're going to look at later on, but I really wanted to start with the basics of understanding how to read the speed graph, how to work with the handles, and control that. But what we're going to do is I'm actually going to go back to our text. So I'm going to take out this graph editor, go back to these, our keyframes, and I'm going to change it. I'm going to delete it. So now we're completely out of it. And I'm going to go back to taking let's go ahead and grab our selection tool, grab our text, and I'm going to go ahead and control home, bring that text right to the center. And I'm going to work with rotation tool. So looking at the rotation tool, a couple things I like to do is, again, the pan behind, I'm going to go ahead and move this just out away. Now I can use this rotation tool. So again, we looked at our selection tool. Now we're looking at these movement tools. Okay, with the unified camera, the pan behind, the rotation. If I grab on the corner, I can move this text around that anchor point. This is pretty cool. I think it's fun. So you can do so like that, which it just depends on where you place your anchor point. So I'm going to Control Z, but maybe I wanted to go again, and I'm going to grab the selection tool, grab my text, and Control Alt Home, put that anchor point right back in the center of the text. And I'm going to come down here and I'm going to move the rotation. So maybe what I want to do is by 3 seconds, I want to rotate. Let's just do one rotation. So we're doing 360 degrees, just that one rotation. And if I wanted to, you can. Let me undo that. I could say, let's go all the way around fun. Let's just do it by dragging it out because I like to watch the movement as it happens. All right, and that's going to get to the point where if I hold shift, I can make it a little bit easier to get those degrees exactly so I don't have, because watch, right when I hit 360, if I grab it, it goes around, but I'm going to undo that and go back to one rotation. And I'm going to hit a keyframe, and now, so with 1 second, I hit that one rotation. I'm going to go back to 0, and I'm going to click 0 so that I see that between 0 and 3 seconds, I have one full rotation. And I still have the motion blur on, so that's probably why you notice that motion blur as I do the movement. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and select both these. I'm going to hit F9. I'm going to go ahead and just easy ease both of those. And we're going to go to the graph editor. And right now, I notice that we actually have the speed of going from 0 to just a little bit over 150 pixels per second and back down, but we're on the speed graph, and I'm going to go to the value graph, and we're going to notice that it goes from 0 for the rotation to 360. So it goes through that one full rotation. And something cool about this, and I'm going to just enlarge this a little bit, is with speed, you can't go below 0 when you want to manipulate and maybe grab the handle and say, hey, I want to go. You can't because it's not really able to go below 0. But within degrees, so your value, you are. So maybe at the beginning, instead of starting, I maybe want it to have just to go down just a tiny bit below. So it's almost like going backwards for a little bit. And then it will go back up. And maybe I want it to do the same over here. So when it finishes, instead of finishing straight at 360, it's going to go just a kind of little bit above and beyond, as Buzz Lightyear would like to say. I know that's a lame joke, but we're gonna have and see let's just kind of see what that does. I'm interested, so let's do full screen. So see how it kind of turns left, and then it's gonna go into its rotation. It's gonna do its rotation for the 3 seconds, give a little bit of that motion blur, waiting around for our processor to render this, and it's gonna kind of go back a little bit right and left. Okay, and it settles in. And something that's cool about that I like to do, especially when we get into keyframe, is that you want to give something as much as you can a realistic feel. And we're going to look at that with, and I'll show you an example later on when we actually have to kind of make it maybe look like it's bouncing or coming in and skewing and getting back into place. So that's what you can do with this graph editor, is you can kind of give it a little more realistic movement. So let me do this again. Maybe just make it a little more extreme. And I'm actually going to maybe pull this. Let's go to let's just go to 1 second. Let's see what it looks like at 1 second. And as you notice, I can do that here. And when I go back to the graph editor, okay, it actually pulled it. Okay, so it pulled this to that 1 second mark. So it can change it. So they're connected. That the timeline with the graph editor are connected. So let's go ahead and play through that. So we get a really quick movement and back in. But yep, that's pretty much how you can use your graph editor to kind of control and adjust. And I wanted to show you the difference between the speed within your time graph and your value. So knowing that, between your position and how it gets the speed, your rotation, using the values with degrees, those are two different ways you can change and really control your animation with your keyframing interpolation.